This is an excerpt from a talk on the 55 concepts used as a tool. The 55 Concepts is a book written by Michael Cavallaro and can be found at 55concepts.com. We're using the concepts as tools, like we said yesterday. The concepts are to slow down, deprogram the brain so it stops scrambling your reception of your spirit. Then you get to the heart. But until you slow down all those programs, you're going to have challenges because they're constantly going to be running. So as much as you've got running, that's how much interference you have to being clear with yourself. So concepts are tools. The tools are foundational for the mind because people are very mental. And so we've got to slow down the mind enough for them to feel the heart. And those who have just feeling senses and don't have a whole lot of mind running, they still have the programs. So what happens is they have to have the concepts because when the heart opens up and the head programs kick in and it starts to connect, they're going to have the programs that they've got to delete or be able to handle or manage. It's just a reversal process. But either way, you have to connect. When you connect the head and the heart, one way or the other, your human is going to run the programs. And you need to have the tools so that it makes it easier so the human doesn't panic. Because once the human panics, then everything shuts down. Panic is constricting. Panic is anxiety. Panic is fear. Fear is constricting. Once it constricts, it narrows the passageway for your spirit to connect with your humanness, and it limits your ability to be hooked up, to get clear. So the more you panic, the more cut off you are, and the weirder things get in your human life. So you've got to have these tools to manage that human. Should it panic, to, we'll say, deprogram it so it doesn't panic, and so that it's easier when you're having a rough experience and your humanness doesn't start making stories about what's going on, which then kicks you into panic, which then throws you into constriction, which then cuts you off from your spirit while you're in panic. This is what happens to people when they go into panic attacks. A panic attack is simply the fear strangles their connection to their spirit and they can't hear their own wisdom. And now they're completely subject to their human programs, which is also panicking because it believes its lifeline is cut off, which then perceives it as a death. So now everything starts to kick in and the whole nervous system kicks in and the heart begins to go through what it was, the blood pressure goes through what it was, and all these things kick into a cycle, all because you constricted yourself and cut yourself off from your inner connection. Anytime you go in your stuff, that's the exact same process. Your stuff kicks in, constricts your connection gets very narrow, and the difference between a panic attack and just being in your stuff is that you don't feel like you're going to die when you're in your stuff. When you're in your stuff, your human's still very much in control, being controlled by its patterns, so it's not freaking out totally. But when it gets so constricted, then it realizes it's having a near-death experience, and it panics, which then makes your humanness crazy, which then constricts it even more, and the fear of losing total connection with your spirit is experienced, translated through your human as a near-death experience, and therefore everything goes haywire. This is why what happens when a person has a real panic attack, they usually pass out when they go to the extreme. Correct, nurse? The real extreme panic ones will pass out. When they pass out, body functions go to normal. I mean, aside from there being a physical abnormality, they'll go right back to normal. Heartbeat will start. They'll go into normal. They'll go into a stasis. And the body will function perfectly fine. because their consciousness isn't constricting it anymore by the fear that narrowed their connection and then the panic. For more information, please contact us at www.55concepts.com or www.masteringtheartofbeinghuman.com.